by BP.
We've worked it out. Well, the first goal we look at, Brett Hetty last week in very difficult conditions at Subiaco Oval. And a very good snap on the left boot.
And now we see a Greg Anderson, who is a magnificent player and a very long kick. This one looks as though it's going to be a goal. They have to take the goal umpire's answer. He said it was. I doubt.
Come on, Robbie. This one, Brad Rowe at the MCG yesterday. Very nippy around goal, Brad Rowe. And there he is. Good evasive skills and a good snap on the left boot.
And here's Greg Williams anticipating, and there is no doubt he is a magnificent kick with either of his preferred feet.
He's been using the left boot on most occasions in recent times. Yesterday at Cardinia Park, and Robert Scott, he kicked a couple of excellent goals in this quarter. One we saw earlier on in the highlights, but that one on the left boot was terrific from about 45 metres.
And there's Stoneham almost bringing the ball down, gets up, fights for the ball, and without even looking, brings it right back over his shoulder. Something not seen very often nowadays.
And this man has got exquisite skills, hasn't he? Darren Jarman, there we see, getting around onto his left boot. It doesn't matter, left or right, the same as Greg Williams.
And Alan Thorpe from Footscray, beating his man, getting away, and driving it through with the left foot to make them an excellent goal.
As he's added a little bit on the Footscray forward line, and Jigilia Grigic flying for the mark there. It spills to the ground. Chris Grant has got good skills both in the air and on the ground. That is a terrific goal. He went to the ground, he got up again, was tackled, and still kicked the goal on his left boot. Bob?
Are you saying that should be the goal of the day?
Well, that was a contender, wasn't it? It was a close second.
A close second, because we decided that we would give it to Barry Stoneham. Could we look at Stoneham's goal again? Look, he almost brings it down. He's in amongst a pack of body there, decides that it's his ball, gets up, fights for it, and without even glancing, puts it straight back over his shoulder and through the centre, bisecting and having the man wave two calicos at one end.
Man.
Good on you, Bob.
The producer's nightmare, Bob Davis. Let's have a look, could we once again, at the progressive, and we'll see that Gary Ablett, 3 yesterday, to move to 119. Modra is on 114 after 5. Jason Dunstall is joining the century makers. Good to see after a bag of 8. He has moved to 107. Peter Sumich, tough in the wet, out at the Western Oval yesterday for a couple, and he is on 70. Time now, though, to continue our look at yesterday's games. 85,000 fans, Pete, at the MCG, and you were amongst them.
Yes, and amazing start to the game. Carlton kicked 4 goals before Collingwood blinked, and then Collingwood kicked the next 6 goals of the match. And after that, it looked like nip and tuck at half-time. Anyone's game. The rain came. Everyone thought that would suit Collingwood. But then Carlton, through Madden and Gleeson at the centre bounce, started to get it out of the centre. And the big difference in the two sides was the fact that Stephen Kernahan was absolutely on fire down at full forward at one end, and yet down the other end of the ground, Severio Rocca had a very quiet day. Stephen Silvani was absolutely terrific at full back with desperation, his normal scragging, and he was absolutely terrific. And he had 4 opponents for the day, Stephen Silvani.
Peter, a lot of discussion last week about the so-called fitness of Kernahan and Williams. Do you feel that Carlton could be confident going into the finals with both of these players?
Well, Greg Williams is a superstar. We all know that, and we all know he's not 100% fit, as I don't think Gavin Brown is 100% fit, as you can see on screen now. But with Kernahan there, half-fit Stephen Kernahan is a champion, and his marking yesterday, his body work on Gary Pert early in the match was just terrific, and it was forced, Gary Pert was taken off the ground at one stage, in fact.
Brett Heaver, he was quite impressive the week before. How did he go?
Well, he adds a bit of bite round the packs. He was fairly quiet yesterday.
Was he playing up the ground or just on the forward line?
No, he was playing on the forward line, but he went up the ground for a spell, and he is a clever little player, but it wasn't a vital play yesterday. The amazing thing about yesterday was the fact that Greg Williams and Craig Bradley, 2 of their superstars, were fairly quiet. But that back line, I'll just go through some of those players. Matthew Hogg did a fine job on Francis. Michael Sexton's a greatly improved player. Andrew McKay, I think he's the recruit of the year.
He'd have to be coming from Lucendale.
Is he from Lucendale?
Yeah, he is.
2 champions have come from Lucendale.
Who's the other one?
Sandy Roberts, Stephen Silvani, Ange Christo and Peter Dean. Well, Gavin Brown started on Greg Williams, and then Gavin was eventually put to full forward because they were getting pretty desperate. Collingwood's big problem is they do not have enough goal kickers, and until they solve that problem, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, Macca, they can still make the finals, Collingwood, if they win next week.
Well, they have to beat Adelaide and have to rely on Geelong being beaten by
How far do you
the
think
West
they can
Coast.
go on yesterday's performance?
Well, I think Collingwood are not playing well at the moment. They certainly need Tony Shaw back in that side to just give that little bit of bite around the packs.
He's dropped
Well,
because he had
Tony
no
Shaw,
pace.
yes, but he gets in there and he mouths off and he adds a little bit of that toughness around the centre bounce because they rely heavily on McGuan, Francis and Russell to get it out of the centre. At the moment, those players aren't getting enough of the ball.
Votes, please, Pete.
Votes, I went all Carlton. Shane Watson played a great game and I'd like to have put him in, and Adrian Gleeson, but eventually I went for Steve Silvani. Only had a couple of kicks, but tremendous job at fullback. Hannah was dominant across the half-back line. He played a great game. And Steve Kernahan, 7 goals, 5 or such, and he was the difference between the two sides.
Yes, so Carlton far too strong for the Maggies, but another of our special guests has joined us now, Gavin Brown, who could be in here, Gavin, under, you would have hoped, different circumstances, not to be. Just one point to come out of that, I think Pete questioned your fitness. Would you answer that for us?
Yeah, obviously, I've missed probably, I think, 7 weeks of footy, so, fitness-wise, I was probably down a touch. It was probably always going to be the way, so... I just expected that.
Gavin, it appeared when the selection was made for the game that you put in a great many runners. How did they get the team mobile, or what happened?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of talk about our running brigade, small men and all that sort of thing. But I mean, we've had basically, pretty much the same side all the way through, I think, and it's hard to say whether we're not going quite as well or other teams are improving. It's hard to say.
No revving up needed when Carlton played Collingwood. How did the Collingwood boys react to the article in the paper yesterday that Ian Collins supposedly was quoted?
Yeah, well, I don't think too many of the boys would have read, taken much notice of the paper the morning before a game, so I don't think it would have had much influence on the game at all.
Brad Rowe, why can't he play further up the ground? Is it a lack of fitness? Can't he see out a spell on the ball?
Yeah, well, Rowe's basically played, in the forward pocket all year, and he hasn't played a full game, I don't think, on the ball. So obviously his fitness is.
I'm not saying a full game, but he could be used on the ball, as a shock trooper on occasion.
I think he could be a good on-ball player, but as you said, his fitness isn't up to it. So that's why he's playing in the forward pocket, and he's valuable down there for us.
Gavin, did Lee say much to the side after the game? Because he must have been terribly disappointed with the forward line, because really the ball was down there a heck of a lot.
Yeah, he didn't say much. I mean, everybody knows what happened, and we're still in the running. We've got next week, so I mean, there's still we've got to look to positive things in the game. Obviously, it was disappointing, our forward line, and we didn't get the goals through as Carlton did. So it is a little bit disappointing. It's something we've got to work on.
Well, speaking about next week, is there any changes you can foresee happening for the Adelaide Oval Football Park?
From our side? It's hard to say. I'm not sure who we've got available, and there's not really too many out. I'm not sure how the boys went in the twos yesterday, but Tony Shaw, I'm not sure how he pulled up after the game. So basically, I think it'll be a pretty similar side that we had yesterday.
Continue on with that train of thought. What about the travel situation for Collingwood? How do you assess it? Is it any worry going there?
Going over there, I don't think it's as bad as going to play the West Coast Eagles. Not quite as far. I think it's only about 50-55 minutes.
So, or to Brisbane?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How about the 42,000 fans screaming in favour of Adelaide? Does that affect you?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't really think so. I think we won over there last year pretty well, and you don't tend to notice the crowd too much if you're really concentrating and you're in front.
Actually, I'm sure you'll be concentrating this Friday night, but I reckon you will notice them maybe a bit. There'll be 46,000 there. In fact, Sunday, isn't it? Of course, Friday we're in Perth. But it's going to be
Sunday, Andy.
I just corrected myself. Thank you.
We missed it. We missed it.
A great one from Clunes. You've got news on Clunes coming up too. But Gavin, thank you seriously for joining us, and good luck next week. It's going to be a ripper game, as Bob said on Sunday. We'll take a break and stay with us for that news on Clunes.
When you pull into BP, you have our promise that we'll do everything in our power to serve you as fast as we humanly can. So after you pick up the pump, we'll make sure it's always clear and activated within seconds. It's a small thing, we know, but it's something that we take very seriously. BP, on the move.
Just how flexible is a national tailored home loan?
Yeah.
Could the repayments be changed?
Not a problem at all. Definitely.
Well, that's quite manageable. I think we could start a family very soon.
Ask the National to tailor a home loan that's just right for you.
Hey, good looking.
What's a soup doing in the dairy case? It's not dried, and it's not in a can.
Oh, I love your touch.
It's just fresh soup in a carton.
I could really warm to
Wood
you.
stove soup.
Come on, give us a kiss.
Very fresh.
They're the biggest brands in the country, and you can get them interest-free at Retrovision now. Like this big screen Philips remote TV, an incredible $10.99. This large 5-kilogram Fisher & Paykel auto washer is just $9.49. Get a free watch with this Philips Deluxe shaver for only $1.59. And this new frost-free Kelvinator 2-door is just $9.99. Get 3 months interest-free at Retrovision now, where top brands cost less.
Are you still opening your garage store the old way? Well, isn't it time you made it easier and added a B&D controller door automatic garage door opener? No matter what type of garage door you have, whether it be a tilting type door, a rolling type door, or a sectional overhead door, all B&D controller door openers are Australian made and produced to the highest standards to suit most garage doors. You know you'll be right behind the B&D controller door.
Why did I choose the new Falcon? For the power, for the handling, for the feeling of all-round security you only get with a full-size family car. There is another reason. Go to sleep.
H&H,
Home and home.
it was an HHG,
Happy Honey Ground.
TLTB,
Thank you, Liza, thank you,
we
boy.
were CPs,
Consummate professionals.
we TNFS,
Thrust the names in front of the select.
we GEI,
Gave every indication.
we got BTB,
Back to basics.
gave it CNO,
Colour and ooh.
we took a good hard look at ourselves, we gave it EPC,
Every possible chance.
the HTBT,
Had to be there.
we had an RHG,
Red hot go.
and took a
Good hard look at
Bob was wondering initially, what on earth have we got here? But there's nothing like a good old football cliche, is there? Incidentally, stay with us for that news on Clunes too. But, coming up now, let's check out the marks of the week.
The Mark of the Week and the Mark of the Year are proudly sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors.
Alphabet soup. Well, the first mark comes up to Tony Hall. Keeps his balance, keeps his position and takes it right on the goal line.
And he features again here in the difficult conditions that prevailed over in the West last weekend. Tony Hall.
And here's a vital player taking a fantastic mark for the Crows, Ben Hart.
Glenn Archer. This is not a bad effort by a good North Melbourne player.
The next one is from a multi-talented player in driving rain with one hand. Outstanding skills on that occasion from Paul Williams.
And I think we've come to expect this sort of thing from Gavin Wanganeen. A terrific effort there yesterday against Geelong.
There weren't too many highlights at the Western Oval yesterday, but Leon Cameron produces a pretty good mark here. Big leap from behind, outstretched hands, and takes it without the gloves.
And one of the West Coast key players, Ashley McIntosh, stands his ground and controls that pretty well with the one hand, Jared.
Well, they weren't a fantastic bunch of marks.
Couple dropped, weren't there, really? Not controlled to the ground, but...
Well, there's been a fairly high standard set for the year. I don't think many of those will feature come mark of the year time.
No, but the courage of Tony Hall yesterday on last weekend against the West Coast, running back with the flight of the ball, and in, as I said, fairly difficult conditions, that's the mark of the week.
So congratulations to Hawthorn's Tony Hall, back in the seniors once again. Now let's talk about all the action down at Cardinia Park. Yesterday, Bernie, a rip-roaring performance by the Cats to keep their finals chances alive.
Yes, Sandy, well...
That's just to help you out in the middle of the commentary after last night.
You idiot, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, feeling okay, Bern?
Yeah, very good, Sandy. The gates were closed at Cardinia Park at about...
Concentrating.
Look this way.
10 minutes to 2. It was a sellout crowd down at Cardinia Park, and they're playing very well at the moment, your boys, Bobby. They've won 4 in a row. North Melbourne, Collingwood, Hawthorn and Essendon now. And in the second quarter, you would have thought, well, Essendon have really found their feet. It could be all over because they did kick 8 goals in that second term. But after half-time, Essendon did run into injury problems because the player at full-back, Fletcher, who had been absolutely thrashing Gary Ablett, he hurt his ankle and had to go to the forward line and then was taken off the ground. Wallace was injured. He dislocated his shoulder. He'd been doing a pretty good pretty good job on Stoneham. And also James Hird ran into Tim McGrath, Macca, and he was pretty dazed from that one and really didn't take any further part in the game.
Bernie, are you virtually saying that you feel that Essendon would have won the game but for injury?
Well, their 2 key defenders did run into problems. Look, I'm not taking anything away from Geelong. They were fantastic. They produced the football that you expect from Geelong, especially with Stoneham playing at centre-half forward. Ablett had a quiet day. Barnes dominated the ruck, and Buddha Hocking was just fantastic. He is a very hard player.
Why can't we go
Billy
on
Brown
with
as
this?
well.
Go on, Bernie, sorry.
Well, Billy had a difficult role yesterday because he was placed about 30 metres around the boundary line, right on the boundary line. He was picked up by Glenn Manton. Obviously, he was told by Malcolm Blight just to keep out of the way. He did kick 2 goals in that first quarter, Bob, from tap-overs and a couple of lucky ones, but Billy didn't really have much effect on the game.
Bernie, just a quick discussion on these interchange players. Do you feel, and what about the rest of the panel, that we should increase the numbers?
Well, I do think probably 3 is the right number to go with, Robbo.
Why don't we go with 4, seeing as the Foster's Cup's got 4, State of Origin's 4?
Oh, well, why don't we have 10?
Wouldn't you finish up
exactly
with,
right.
That's exactly right. You just keep extending and extending.
Well, you
finish
know,
up with 30 players, wouldn't
I think the intensity of the game these days, because they did really run into injury problems yesterday, Essendon. Fletcher had been fantastic, as I said. He was off the ground. Wallace was off the ground. They've lost their 2 key defenders, and unfortunately James Hird was whacked in the head in an incident with Tim McGrath. It was very unfortunate. It had no bearing on the actual play, and he had virtually no impact on the game.
A coaching ploy after a while, wasn't it? Having fraud.
It wasn't a coaching ploy yesterday. They
yes,
did
but
run
what
into
I'm
genuine...
saying, if they have 3 players on interchange or 4, that's going to be another coaching ploy.
But the rules will be the same for everybody, Don.
Bernie,
they'll be the
does
same
James
for everybody.
Hird look like being okay? They've got a bye next week.
He'll be okay.
Missed a lot.
He'll be
missed
okay.
a lot of football.
There was no hamstring problems there, Robbo. He'll be okay. And also give Wallace and Fletcher a chance to come up again, which is it's fortunate that the Bombers have got the bye next week.
Your votes, please, Bernie.
Yeah, the votes. I gave 3 votes to John Barnes, who was absolutely dominant in the ruck. He came up against Somerville and also against Paul Salmon.
Did he run off the ground at a certain time, or did he play the whole game?
No, he played the whole game in the ruck, John Barnes. He did fall back across the half-back.
I suppose.
Don. He did fall back across half-back line. Here's a problem with his handball because he really doesn't know how to handball. Barry Stoneham took over at centre-half forward, took about 10 marks, and Gary Hocking is having a wonderful season. He's just dominant around midfield.
Well done, Bernie. Congratulations on getting through that. Have a spell. We'll take a break more shortly.
I had a little prang on the way to Mum's house, but GIO Australia looks after my car insurance, so I just rang their 24-hour helpline. They gave me free legal advice, sent the tow truck, recommended a repairer, and got me a free local taxi to where I was going in the first place. Why did I go with GIO Australia? To be really sure.
Give GIO Australia a call.
Take on a tough job in tough country, and you usually have to get there on all 4s. But when that's not enough, you just have to use your muscle. That's why there's a whole range of Mitsubishi Tritons with all the muscle of a big V6. And if you can't rely on a big V6 with four-wheel drive to get you there, who can you rely on?
A lube service, electronic tune-up and a complete safety inspection bumper to bumper is normally $149.50. This month, we'll do it for only $99 plus parts. That's right, $99. Try us, we'll prove how good we are. Call now and have your car serviced at your home, the office or wherever. All parts and labour are guaranteed for 3 months. Call 481-2222 now and have Lubemobile come to you.
Everywhere you look, there are reasons why you need eye drops. The problem is, some are just for soreness and redness. Some soothe and moisturize. New Visine Revive does both. Visine Revive not only relieves soreness and redness, it also soothes and moisturizes. For eyes that are sore or dry, switch to Visine Revive. Your eyes will feel the difference.
Play Monopoly at McDonald's. Get your game card, scratch 3 game pieces, and match the property group to win a mystery flight with Ansett Australia, one of the world's great airlines. Or you could win instantly.
Live from Sydney, Hagen's Born Again Roos. Are they good enough for the flag? And then Melbourne and the Tigers. High, wide and handsome. The action starting live 2 o'clock today.
Hi, I'm Carl Lewis, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in Stuttgart on Channel 7.
Olympic gold challenges world champion in the ultimate track and field event, the 1993 World Athletics Championships, live and exclusive to 7 Sport tonight.
Yes, just reading that footy factoid, the Dogs have 3 excellent wins over the West Coast Eagles, and really, Jared, touch of deja vu yesterday, wasn't it, for the West Coasters?
Yeah, same result as the second last round last year, and but West Coast went on to win the flag. So going on yesterday's performance, you would say that that is a distinct possibility, although they're starting to really lack a little bit of depth, and I speak of Chris Lewis, Langdon, Turley, Worsfold, Waters and Pearce are all out, so with the injury to Guy McKenna and the possible suspension of Peter Wilson, they could be struggling to get a side good enough to win the flag. But one of the worst games I've seen for the season, unfortunately. It had nothing up until probably the last quarter when Footscray really took control of the game. And why Fitzroy would be considering going out to the Western Oval's beyond me. Obviously, the second option is very, very bleak indeed. But I must pay credit to the on-ballers for Footscray. Atkins, Libber, Wind and Cameron, they did well after half-time and really turned the game around. And also credit to Alan Thorpe. I saw him play 3 games in Sydney and he didn't look too comfortable on a football field, but yesterday he showed that perhaps there's a big future for him, and he was one of the real keys to Footscray winning the game with 3 vital goals.
Jared, 2 questions. Ilya Grigic, first of all, a promising young player, and I heard you on the replay last night ripping into the players for wearing gloves. Now, what's your opinion of these newfangled gloves?
Well, I think the gloves are a bit like the rest of ladies' apparel. I think they should be left off the ground.
That's very conservative.
Well, it may be conservative, and I for one, tried the gloves in Ireland. I found that they worked.
Those particular gloves?
Those gloves, they kept your hands warm, and I'd say that that's the only thing that these gloves are doing also.
That's a good idea, isn't it? In the cold and wet Melbourne winter, that's not a bad idea, is it?
Yeah, but one of the true tests of a player is his ball handling, and I think if you're starting to give them gloves to keep the fingers warm, well, it's really taking away one of the real challenges of the game.
We should take the sprigs out of the boots, do you think, to make the suit?
Well, why don't we go barefooted, Don?
Well, why not?
Why don't we have a look at some votes, Jared?
Well, why not? I just want to pay tribute to young Brad Nicholson. He didn't get a vote, but he did do well in one of his early games of his career, keeping Sumis to only 2. Simon Atkins, one of his better games for the season, got the ball out of the centre, but still does not do too much in the defensive side. Bernard Toohey, I thought, was a 4-quarter player, particularly good in the first half. And Scott Wind, I thought, had a distinct influence on the ground, and you have to do well to get a vote from me if you're a ruckman.
Right, thank you, Jared, for that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Bernie Quinlan was quoted as saying the Brisbane Bears are the worst team in the competition. Did you not say that?
They all ridiculed me on that occasion. Robbo and
Rightly so too, rightly so.
Bob, you saw them.
I now bow to your judgment, Bernard.
Good on you, Bob. You're a good judge.
Statistically, they've still won. The Swans have only won one game.
If
and
the
Bears
Swans
have
and the
won
Bears
4.
played today, the Swans would kill them.
Now, what if they had a...
But on that, Bob, you would say that the West Coast Eagles are the worst side in the competition because
Why?
their form yesterday was deplorable.
No,
Hang
hang on. We're looking at it over about 4 or 5 weeks.
That's
We're not just
right.
looking at yesterday, Jerry.
Let's have a look at the game anyway, Bob, please.
Well, the game... I really wasn't going to talk about this game because Fitzroy was so good. Well, I mean, no, they scored, 20-odd goals to 1. It was a cakewalk. It was, was really pitiful just sitting there watching it because it just kept going from the centre up. No one can say that poor old Roger Merritt. I mean, the ball didn't get down to the forward line at all. And if I like to combine the Swans and the Bears, they wouldn't beat Clunes. They wouldn't beat Clunes.
Well, no, Bobby, Alistair Lynch has been reported, and he'd have to be some chance in the Brownlow medal, wouldn't he? Was that
I thought it was
just
a rather
unfortunate?
foolish thing, actually, because obviously McIver had done something to
Stirred him up a bit.
Stirred him up a bit, but he wasn't hurt. He was in complete
They're winning the
control
game
of what
by a
he'd
mile.
done.
Yeah.
But when he turned around, he was very sad.
Yeah.
But what I really wanted to
I wanted to
say...
ask you about that, Bob. The crowd of 6,000, you've got something to say about that?
Well, I know this isn't... we've spoken about it many times before. I would say it would almost cost $20,000 to open up the Carlton ground yesterday. Don't worry about the votes. They weren't all that instrumental. If you want the votes, Alistair Lynch got 3 votes. Mark Zanotti got 2 votes and Jimmy Wine got 1 vote. But if we don't have double headers, there is no marketing gurus at the AFL at all.
So what you're saying, the bottom team...
The bottom teams, there should have been the 2 games at the Waverley yesterday.
It's on the drawing board.
It's on the... How long has it been on the drawing board?
Well, they've got to get permission from the commission.
There's another thing that's on the drawing board. Here's the draft. See, this is a magnificent thing sent out by the AFL. The father and son rule. I now propose, and I hope you're all listening there, if a person's father has played 50 or more senior VFL-AF matches with any one club, then he can go. I propose that if a person's father or grandfather has played more than 50 games, because you will find that we are losing tradition very badly. And I know of 3 or 4 grandsons who would like to play with their club of their choice.
Good
and I
point,
think it is really essential that someone look at it. And there is another bit here, served not less than 5 years as president, vice president, general manager, senior coach or selected member of the board. Now, there is a lady in complete control out at Fitzroy. She's been there for quite a long time. If her son decides to play, is she mother and son rule?
Well, Barry Lawrence is only playing 1 game for Southport today.
Oh, well, that's an added thing. We understand. But the grandfather rule is most essential.
Yes, you've given us food for thought. That's an excellent one, Robert. Well done on that. Now, let's have a look at some votes.
Where's Clunes?
Let's have a look. Clunes is up north somewhere. Alex Ashenko, North v Richmond. This was Bob. Last week, Alex Ashenko got the votes from Wayne Schwass and Wayne Campbell, whilst Adelaide and Melbourne, Greg Anderson on the wing at Football Park got 3 votes. Tony McGuinness was all around the ground. He got 2. And Glenn Lovett picked up 1 vote. Bernie Quinlan, Dean Kemp was given 3 votes.
The Sportsworld Player of the Year is proudly sponsored by Telecom Australia.
Yes, don't worry, Bernie. I did see your votes very quickly, but the bottom line is Greg Williams is leading the way in Footballer of the Year. He has 21 votes. Glenn Lovett is the player that could catch him because he is playing today and he's got next week. So Glenn with 17 votes is really the only player that can catch him. Well, almost time for you to all go back in your cages. You've been excellent.
Where we let you out from? Where
Did you see the scallop boats last
night?
night?
Saw the scallop boats. We'll take a break. Thank you.
Meet Margaret Pearman. She runs a small business.
Wholesale bakery.
All right, Margaret. What can Telecom do for you?
Save me money on my STD calls. With free membership.
Every day, taking care of business. Every way, we're taking care of business. It's alright, taking care of business. plus I'm working overtime.
They listened.
Ring now and save 10% with Telecom's new STD Flexi Plan.
You know it's out there somewhere, and once a year it arrives. Your insurance premium in one big lump sum to bite you on the budget. But with AFL Pay by the Month insurance, you can make that payment easier to handle. Comprehensive car insurance from $17 per month. House and contents insurance from $28 per month. Easy to handle. AFL Pay by the Month insurance. Call 131325.
Pick apart, pick apart, pick apart, pick apart. Don't leave that car just sitting in a heap. Come to Pick Apart, where everything's cheap. Second-hand parts for second-hand cars, from a door to a wheel or a bumper bar. Now at Pick Apart, there's nothing on the shelf, because you bring your tools and do it all yourself. Check out the cars for the part that's right. You're sure to find it. There's hundreds on site. Then you strip the car for the parts you need.
Pick apart, pick apart,
But do it carefully, because there's no warranty. Fussell Road, Kilsyde, 7 days a week. Entry's free and everything's cheap.
Hi, here we are again. We're having a half-price suit sale. A touch of Italian chic with just black, $2.99. Pierre Cardin gabardine suits, all colours, $2.99. Cashmere blazers, a town and country classic, $199. They said it couldn't be done. Business suit with 2 pair of pants, $3.99. Suits are reduced half price at Peter Jackson's.
Oh, I'm in the spin for you, baby.
What's this? A soup that goes straight into the microwave?
They make me so
No
hot.
preparation, no fuss.
Real good.
Just fresh soup in a carton.
What's the matter?
Wood
Am I too
stove
hot
soup.
for you, baby?
Very, very fresh.
Just how flexible is a national tailored home loan? Could the repayments be changed?
Not a problem at all.
Well, that's quite manageable. I think we could start a family very soon.
Ask the National to tailor a home loan that's just right for you.
You've seen them compete. Now see them complete. Pat Cash talks openly.
I was being a dickhead.
Big Merv.
You know, he's bigger than Ben Hur.
The big softy.
She didn't want to name me for the first 5 years, but I kept chasing her. I wore her down.
Plus the exclusive of the year. 7 takes you inside the private world of Michael Jordan.
I make time for my kids and for my family.
No one gets closer than Seasons.
I'll see you on Seasons. I'll see you on Seasons.
Seasons, soon on 7.
This program proudly brought to you by GIO Australia. Now we're twice the insurance company we used to be.
Well, our time is just about up. Before we go, for those people, Kate, who had extraordinarily late nights, bring us up to date with the cricket.
Yes, for those of you who slept in, England started strongly, but their middle order collapsed overnight, leaving the 6th test at the Oval wide open. At stumps on the 3rd day, England had crashed to 5 for 210 for an overall lead of 287. Earlier, Ian Healy, with 83 not out, carried Australia to a first innings score of 303. On to basketball, and in the WNBL, the Sydney Flames scored a 5-point win over Adelaide last night under pressure and have now qualified for their first grand final. While in the NBL, the winners of yesterday's matches were the Bullets, South East Melbourne and Sydney, who beat Illawarra in a thriller. More drama at the World Cycling Championships in Norway. Australians Stephen Pate and Danny Day fell foul of aggressive German tactics while qualifying for the tandem sprint final and were both brought down. But it didn't get past the officials, who disqualified the German pair and announced the Australians would be able to go for gold tomorrow against Italy. Finally, the International Golf Tournament in Denver.